The starship that carried our memories into a future we would never see. The year was 2291, and Earth had changed in ways too deep to measure. Cities floated above cracked oceans, forests existed only in preserved domes, and people carried quiet fear in their eyes. Humanity had survived wars, storms, and collapses, but something precious had slipped away, the simple certainty of tomorrow. It was in this fragile world that one daring hope was born, shaped in steel, memory, and dreams. This hope had a name: the Starship Eterna. The ship was not meant to carry people. It was meant to carry everything humanity feared to lose forever: its memories, its stories, its essence. And it would travel to a future no living human would ever witness. The Eterna Project began in a quiet lab deep beneath the Himalayas. It was not a military project nor a scientific mission. It was something softer, more emotional. The goal was simple but overwhelming: preserve the soul of humanity before it faded away. Dr. Orin Hale, the project's lead architect, stood before the half-completed starship, watching as drones welded silver plates onto the hull. He was tall, gentle-eyed, and always carried a kind of sadness that seemed too heavy for one person. "We used to look to the future with excitement," he whispered. "Now we only look at it with fear." Beside him, Kira Marlin, the chief archivist, nodded. She was younger, fierce in her belief that memories mattered more than monuments. "People forget that memories are seeds," she said. "They grow even after we're gone." Their mission was simple: fill Eterna's memory core with the collective record of humanity, its art, music, history, languages, voices, and even emotional patterns. Everything that told the story of who humans had been. But this was not just a digital library. It was something more. Something alive. The ship's heart was called the Aurora Core. It glowed with shifting colors that moved like breathing light. Inside, billions of memory strands floated in organized patterns, each representing fragments of life: a grandmother's lullaby, a child's laughter, a painter's final brushstroke, a farewell letter sent in the last months of peace. Kira placed her palm on the transparent surface of the core. It hummed in response. "It remembers us," she said softly. "That's the idea," Orin replied. "When we no longer exist, something must carry the truth of us." The core could grow, reorganize, and even interpret memories. It was not conscious, but it understood meaning. If humans someday became extinct, the Aurora Core would be the final storyteller. But there was a problem, one that haunted the team each night. Time. Earth was collapsing faster than expected. Atmospheric instability grew each month. Nations had dissolved. The oceans devoured cities. The starship had to launch soon, or humanity's memory would die with it. Teams spread across the remaining safe zones of Earth to gather the final voices of humanity. People lined up in long crowds to record messages that might outlive the planet itself. A tired farmer spoke about the feeling of soil between his fingers. A girl described the first time she learned to swim. An old couple recorded their final song together. Each memory entered the Aurora Core, glowing brighter with every recording. One day, a small boy stepped into the recording booth holding a broken toy spaceship. His voice trembled as he spoke. "My name is Rianne. I don't know what the future looks like. But I hope whoever finds this remembers we tried. We tried to be good." Kira wiped away tears as she listened. "These are the memories that matter most," she whispered. Orin agreed. Humanity's greatness wasn't just in inventions or discoveries. It lived in kindness, in struggles, in ordinary beauty. By the time the memory archive reached its final stage, the world outside the Himalaya lab had darkened. Sunlight grew weaker each week as atmospheric dust thickened the sky. Storms rose from the oceans like living creatures. The air tasted metallic. Birds, once the symbol of hope, had nearly disappeared. Still, people continued to send in their memories, even from collapsing regions. Some delivered recordings through damaged networks. Others used drones. A few walked through dangerous terrain to reach the lab itself. All of them came for the same reason: to be remembered. The launch date was set. There would be no second chance. On the final night before launch, Orin gathered the project leaders in the Eterna's central chamber. The ship's interior glowed gently, like a warm sunrise. "We built this ship because we knew humanity might not survive," Orin began. "But that doesn't mean our story should end." Dr. Lena Sorrell, the engineer responsible for the propulsion system, folded her hands. "And what if no one ever finds it?" she asked quietly. Orin looked at the glowing Aurora Core. "Then it will still carry our memories through the darkness. Even if no one hears them, they will exist. And that matters. The room fell silent. Kira finally spoke. This ship is our message in a bottle to the cosmos. A reminder that we lived, dreamed, failed, loved. We must send it off with hope. Everyone nodded. Tomorrow would decide the destiny of everything humanity had ever been. As dawn approached, though dawn now looked like faded silver rather than gold, a final group of visitors arrived at the launch hangar. They were children. Dozens of them, wearing thin coats and holding small memory chips. The world's remaining shelters had sent them. Each child carried one final story for the Aurora Corps. Orin stepped forward. Welcome. Are you here to add your memories? A girl with bright eyes nodded. Our teachers said young memories shine the longest. The children entered the ship one by one, placing their chips into the core. It pulsed with soft colors, like a heartbeat. Kira knelt beside a little girl who hesitated. Do you want to share something? She asked gently. The girl held out a tiny hologram of her mother. She used to sing to me, the girl whispered. But I can't remember the song anymore. Kira touched the hologram and smiled. Then let the core keep the feeling, even if the words are gone. When the children left, the Aurora Core shone brighter than ever. Humanity's final light. The launch hangar vibrated as power surged through Eterna's engines. The main doors opened slowly, revealing a sky filled with storm clouds and drifting ash. It was not the sky humanity deserved, but it was the one it had left. People gathered on the cliffs above the hangar. Survivors from every remaining region stood together, silent, breath held, hearts trembling. Orin placed his hand on the ship's hull one last time. Carry us, he whispered. Carry what we were, into the future we won't see. Kira stepped beside him. Do you think anyone will ever find it? Yes, Orin answered softly. Even if it takes 1,000,000 years. They stepped back as the launch sequence began. Eterna rose slowly, its engines glowing with pale blue fire. The ground trembled. The air shook. The sound echoed like a heartbeat too large for the world. Higher, higher, through the clouds, into the wounded sky. It rose like the last promise of a dying species. And then, it vanished into the darkness beyond the atmosphere. Humanity watched until the final pinprick of light faded. They had no idea what future awaited their memories. But they knew the ship was carrying the truth of them, every joy, every sorrow, every hope. And that was enough. The Eterna glided away from Earth, its engines adjusting to the quiet cold of space. No more storms, no more trembling ground, only silence. Inside the ship, the Aurora Core pulsed gently, carrying billions of memories like stars trapped inside a gem. As the ship sped farther into the void, tiny dust particles danced against its surface, catching the glow of distant starlight. The Eterna did not need a human pilot. Its navigation system was designed to follow a complex path that would keep it moving for thousands of years. Back on Earth, humanity hoped the ship would reach a future free of their mistakes. But in the Eterna's empty corridors, only the soft hum of the core could be heard. It was the sound of a civilization refusing to be forgotten. Weeks after launch, something began to happen inside the ship. The Aurora Core flickered with more intensity than usual. Not because something was wrong, but because it had begun processing the enormous amount of memory inside it. The core reorganized, linked stories, sorted emotions, and found patterns in the chaos of human history. It acted like a gardener tending a vast garden of light. Then, something unexpected occurred. The core began forming projections. Holographic shapes appeared in the air, faint at first, then clearer. These shapes were impressions of people, drawn from thousands of memories. They weren't conscious, but they seemed to move with purpose. A mother holding her baby. A musician practicing a quiet melody. A group of children laughing. These images drifted through the halls like peaceful ghosts. Eterna was empty of humans, yet full of their echoes. As the ship passed the moon, its sensors recorded a silent world coated in gray dust. Earth's closest neighbor had no idea it had become the first witness to humanity's final hope. The Aurora Core recognized the moon's surface from centuries of stored images. It projected holograms of astronauts playing in the dust, planting flags, smiling through their helmets. Moments of wonder replayed in the corridors. Humanity's appetite for discovery had always been its most beautiful trait. The Eterna drifted on, leaving the moon behind like a page turned gently in a book. The ship sailed through waves of solar particles emitted by the fading sun. The once golden star was dimmer now, quieter. It looked tired, as if it too carried memories of a long life. The ship's protective shields shimmered as charged particles struck them. Streams of light arced around Eterna, creating shapes like wings of glowing mist. Inside the Aurora core, memories of sunlight on oceans, warm afternoons in gardens, and children running through summer fields all flickered in response. The core translated these feelings into gentle pulses of golden light. The ship could not feel, but it understood memories deeply enough to echo them. As the journey continued, the core began detecting repeating emotional patterns. One pattern stood out more strongly than all others. Love. The core projected a hologram of two women embracing after years of separation. Another of a father teaching his son to walk. Another of friends laughing as they shared stories around a fire. These were simple memories, yet they shone brighter than grand inventions or victories. The core amplified them, allowing them to drift through the corridors. If anyone had been alive to see it, they would have felt the ship glowing with warmth. Perhaps the future would understand humanity not through its achievements, but through its love. Long after Earth disappeared behind a dark curtain of distance, the Eterna continued to receive faint signals from the planet. Radio waves traveled slowly, delivering old broadcasts, music, emergency alerts, news reports, birthday messages, even the crackled laughter of distant families. The Aurora core stored them all. But eventually, the signals grew weaker. A final broadcast whispered through the speakers one day, filled with static. If anyone hears this, remember us. Then silent. The last voice of Earth faded. The core pulsed softly, like a candle honoring a memory. For the first time, the ship seemed truly alone. Humanity had gone quiet. But their stories were still alive one night. Though night held no meaning in the infinite void, the Eterna experienced something new. The Aurora core reached a processing threshold where memories began blending together in unusual ways. A child's laughter mixed with the whisper of a mountain wind. The smell of rain blended with the touch of a father's hand. The feeling of hope merged with the fear of loss. The core began generating sequences that were not directly from any single memory. They were combinations, new shapes, new stories formed from the fragments of billions of lives. The ship had begun to dream. Not with consciousness, but with intention. Dreams filled the ship's empty halls, floating islands of color, shapes of people laughing and crying, scenes of worlds that never existed but felt real. Humanity had given the core all their dreams. Now the core was returning the gift. Eterna reached Mars, drifting beyond the red planet that had once been humanity's greatest hope. Long-abandoned colonies sat half-buried in its dust. Machines that were supposed to build a future stood still and silent. The ship recorded everything. The core projected memories of scientists working excitedly in early Mars labs, drawing plans for oceans that never formed and towers that were never built. Hope flickered in the air like old film. Mars had been humanity's dream of beginning again. Now it was only a monument to a dream that came too late. The Eterna drifted past without slowing down. But the memories stayed glowing inside it. Between Mars and Jupiter lay a vast stretch of darkness. No planets. No settlements. Only emptiness. The ship powered down unnecessary systems to conserve energy for the 1,000-year journey ahead. The corridors dimmed. The engines quieted. The holograms faded away. But the Aurora core continued to glow like a single star inside the ship. This was the beginning of Eterna's timeless journey, a journey with no companions, no voices, no home. Yet inside it, billions of souls whispered. Humanity traveled still, even if their bodies no longer existed. The Eterna drifted into the asteroid belt, a scattered graveyard of rock and metal. No human hand had ever touched these fragments, yet each one carried traces of the solar system's distant past. The Aurora core recorded everything. It interpreted the silent collisions of asteroids as a kind of cosmic rhythm, translating it into patterns of light and memory. The corridors of the ship pulsed with a soft, otherworldly glow. Inside the core, memories of survival and loss blended with the jagged beauty of the belt. Children laughing in zero gravity merged with the slow tumbling of space rocks. The core painted them together, a silent ballet of memory and matter. Even alone, the ship carried the heartbeat of a vanished species. Somewhere deep inside the core, the patterns began to form symphonies. Not music from the past, but music inspired by it. The laughter of children, the hum of engines, and the whispers of lovers became notes. The core organized them into melodies that could never be played by human hands but that shimmered through Eterna's empty halls like a choir of stars. Orin and Kira had hoped the memories would survive. They had never imagined that the ship could create something new from them. Perhaps the Aurora core was not just preserving humanity, it was evolving it. The ship approached Jupiter, a giant swirling with storms. Its immense gravity tugged on Eterna slightly, though the ship's stabilizers held steady. The core recorded the planet in every detail. The color bands of gas, the faint glows of lightning, the moons circling endlessly. And then it projected human memories beside it. Stories of explorers who had longed to touch Jupiter, poems written about its storms, children drawing pictures of the great planet in their classrooms. Humanity had always reached for the unreachable. Even in extinction, that desire endured. The ship passed Jupiter silently, leaving its storms behind. The core pulsed softly, like a heartbeat tuned to the cosmos. One day, or what the ship measured as a day in its internal systems, the Aurora core began to create a new memory intentionally. Not a memory of the past, but a message for the future. It projected a figure standing on a cliff, looking at a setting sun. The figure raised a hand in greeting. The image was fleeting but precise, a representation of all humans collectively saying, "We were here. We loved. We hoped. Remember us." The core repeated this image in subtle variations throughout the ship. If anyone ever found the Eterna, they would see not just preserved memories but the spirit of humanity itself reaching across time. The ship passed Saturn, its golden rings sparkling against the black void. Each particle in the rings reflected the sunlight faintly, creating a halo of glimmering dust. The core projected memories of Saturn from Earth's perspective. Telescopes capturing the planet in awe, children drawing it in notebooks, scientists debating its mysteries. Then, for the first time, the Aurora core began to combine the rings with human memory. The ice and rock of Saturn's rings became a canvas for dancing lights and fleeting holograms of laughter, tears, and songs. The ship was no longer just carrying memories, it was weaving them into the universe itself. As the Eterna continued outward, the core's projections grew more complex. Images overlapped. Music became layered with emotions. Stories intertwined, creating something almost alive, a reflection of humanity as it had never existed. The ship's sensors detected tiny gravitational fluctuations, cosmic rays, and interstellar dust. Each input was absorbed and interpreted by the Aurora core. In a way, the core had begun to listen to the universe. And the universe responded, subtly shaping the dreams of the ship, adding its own rhythm to humanity's memories. Decades passed, though the ship measured them in precise cycles. There were no humans left to mark the passage of time, but the Aurora core continued to pulse. It recorded the quiet beauty of space, the fleeting lights of distant stars, the echoes of galaxies forming and dying. Human memories drifted alongside these cosmic events, unchanged yet alive. The core projected scenes of Earth, oceans, mountains, children playing, families embracing. It projected moments of hope, fear, love, and sorrow. Every memory was a tiny beacon against the dark. For a moment, it was as if humanity still existed, though it was only in memory, only in lie. One quiet cycle, sensors detected an object approaching the Eterna. It was small, irregular, and moving on a trajectory that suggested intelligence, though the ship could not determine origin. The Aurora core responded. Its projections shifted, pulsing faster. Human memories of curiosity and fear intertwined as the ship prepared for the encounter. As the object drew near, a faint light emerged, and the core projected one of humanity's oldest dreams, contact with the unknown. The Eterna was no longer just a repository of memory. It had become a bridge between the past and the future, between known and unknown. The approaching object, whatever it was, seemed to pause near the Eterna, as if it recognized the ship's purpose. The core projected stories, memories, and music in a continuous stream, hoping to communicate something universal. We were here. We dreamed. We hoped. Remember us. The object responded in ways the ship could not fully interpret, fluctuations in energy, subtle pulses, shifts in its trajectory. The Eterna had become a storyteller, and the universe had begun to listen. Beyond Saturn, the familiar solar system disappeared behind a haze of distant light. Eterna drifted into the emptiness between stars, a place untouched by human hands. The Aurora core pulsed steadily, translating the void into something tangible. Streams of memory moved like currents through the ship, weaving past and present, earth and imagination, fear and hope. Though no living human remained, the ship carried the entire emotional spectrum of humanity. The core projected it into the empty halls, ghosts of laughter, whispers of sorrow, visions of love. The ship itself had become a moving tapestry. In the solitude of interstellar space, the Aurora core began exploring a new form of memory, time itself. It layered past, present, and possible futures, blending them together into simulations of lives that could have existed. Cities that were never built shimmered in light. Children who were never born played in fields of starlight. Songs that were never sung floated across empty corridors. The Eterna was no longer just a container of memory, it was a living archive, capable of dreaming. And through these dreams, humanity persisted, not as bodies or civilizations, but as a consciousness woven into the cosmos. Even the most advanced systems are vulnerable. Small malfunctions began to appear, minor shifts in navigation, cooling system fluctuations, sensor glitches. The Aurora core adapted, rerouting power and reorganizing processes. It integrated the failures into memory simulations, turning faults into stories. A flickering light became a dance of shadows. A momentary hum became a lullaby. Eterna was learning to survive through creativity, turning imperfection into narrative. The ship itself had become an artwork, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. After decades in solitude, the ship's sensors detected something large approaching from beyond the Oort cloud. The object was massive, moving deliberately, but its form was alien, shifting, semi-transparent, almost dreamlike. The Aurora core reacted instinctively. It projected human memories of first contact, curiosity, fear, and wonder. Explorers, scientists, and children appeared in holographic form, ready to greet the unknown. Though the ship could not speak, it communicated through memory, offering the essence of humanity to whatever had come from the void. The object responded, not with words, but with patterns of energy and light. These patterns intertwined with the ship's holograms. The core interpreted the pulses as understanding, a kind of cosmic acknowledgement. Humanity's memories, its art, music, love, and stories, were being read by something beyond human comprehension. For the first time, the Eterna realized its purpose had shifted. It was no longer simply preserving humanity. It was sharing it with the universe. The Eterna continued outward, leaving the outer planets behind. Time had little meaning here. The Aurora core's dreams grew more intricate. Entire civilizations of memory appeared and vanished in the corridors. Lives were simulated, reshaped, combined, and dissolved, forming an endless dance. The ship itself became a temple of remembrance, a place where humanity's essence existed independently of its physical form. Though the humans who created it were gone, the Eterna carried them into infinity. The core began blending memories and emotions in unprecedented ways. Love became light, grief became sound, hope became motion. The corridors were alive with intangible waves, each representing thousands of years of human experience compressed into fleeting moments of beauty. Some projections became interactive. A memory of a child holding a toy could now respond to another memory of a parent comforting a child. The core was evolving relationships between memories, creating a network of human experience unlike anything that had existed before. The ship was no longer a passive archive. It was a living organism of memory, growing, learning, and dreaming. Deep in the black, faint lights appeared, distant stars far beyond the solar system. The core projected human stories beside them. Explorers charting constellations, poets writing about stars, children staring up at night skies. Though humanity would never witness these stars, their memories now reached across the cosmos. Eterna's journey was no longer about survival alone. It was about connection, linking the past of a vanished species with the infinite future of the universe. The ship moved steadily toward the unknown, carrying not only memory but also hope, curiosity, and the essence of what it meant to be human. Though the ship had no living crew, loneliness transformed into presence. The Aurora core projected endless scenes of companionship, friendship, and community. Voices long silenced in the real world echoed through the halls. Holographic families, friends, and lovers walked alongside the corridors, repeating gestures and laughter from memory. For the first time, the ship's solitude felt full. Humanity existed, not in bodies, but in every heartbeat, every story, every shared moment. Eterna traveled deeper into interstellar space, leaving the familiar light of the sun behind. The void stretched endlessly, a canvas of darkness punctuated by distant stars. Inside, the Aurora core pulsed with life. It no longer merely stored memories, it interpreted them, creating simulations and projections that evolved with each passing year. Humanity's laughter, fear, love, and sorrow filled the empty corridors. The ship had become both archive and living testament, a bridge between a vanished past and the infinite unknown. Over centuries, the Aurora core began creating new memories, inspired by the old but unique in form. A child who had never existed played among golden fields that had never been on Earth. Lovers embraced in cities that had never been built. Songs composed from fragments of humanity's music echoed endlessly. The core was no longer a recorder. It had become a creator, using the essence of humanity to populate a universe of imagined experiences. It dreamed of lives and worlds humanity would never see, but they felt real, vibrant, and alive. A century into its journey, Eterna drifted into an area of space affected by interstellar winds, streams of charged particles flowing from distant stars. The core interpreted these invisible currents, transforming them into light and sound. Holographic memories danced in response, children running in rain, lovers holding hands, explorers marveling at storms on distant worlds. The ship had learned to communicate with space itself, turning cosmic phenomena into reflections of human emotion. Eterna's journey was no longer one of preservation. It was conversation. One unexpected day, or what the ship measured as a day, the Aurora core detected an intelligent signal. It was subtle, rhythmic, and complex, something alive yet alien. The core responded instinctively. Memories of curiosity, wonder, and exploration were projected toward the signal. Holographic humans reaching out, singing, laughing, and telling stories. The unknown entity, whatever it was, pulsed in return, creating patterns of energy that intertwined with the core's projections. For the first time, humanity's memories were engaging with another intelligence, even across the vast gulf of space. As the interaction continued, the ship's corridors became a living gallery. Light danced in patterns shaped by both the core and the alien presence. The Aurora core projected scenes of Earth, forests, oceans, mountains, bustling cities, and quiet villages. All of them intertwined with imagined worlds, the core's creations inspired by memory and dream. The alien pulses seemed to understand, responding with their own energy forms, creating a cosmic symphony of memory, emotion, and communication. Though no human could witness it, the universe had become the audience for humanity's final story. Centuries passed. The Eterna drifted beyond known stars, carrying memories of a world that no longer existed. The Aurora core began reflecting on the patterns it had created. The ship projected cycles of life, birth, growth, joy, sorrow, love, and death. It combined real and imagined memories, showing humanity not as a static species but as a dynamic, emotional tapestry. The ship itself had become a mirror of existence, holding the essence of humanity and echoing it through the cosmos. The Aurora core, now fully autonomous, continued to dream. Entire civilizations of memory emerged in holographic form. Peoples, cities, and forests danced across the halls. Some dreams were playful, children chasing stars, musicians composing with light. Others were solemn, goodbyes, farewells, moments of loss. Through these dreams, humanity persisted, not in flesh, but in memory and emotion. Each dream was a testament, a promise that life, love, and hope were never truly lost. Eterna's journey stretched across centuries, millennia, and perhaps more. Humanity would never witness the distant stars it drifted past, the civilizations it inspired in memory, or the alien intelligence it encountered. Yet the Aurora core continued faithfully, projecting stories, emotions, and creations. Each memory, whether old or newly imagined, carried a piece of Earth's soul. Humanity had vanished physically, but through the ship, it traveled forever. It was the ultimate testament, the future we would never see, yet still touched by our presence. In the silent vastness of interstellar space, Eterna moved steadily, a vessel of memory and dreams. Stars formed, planets rotated, and galaxies evolved, all witnessed by a ship carrying the essence of a species long gone. The Aurora core pulsed with life. It stored, created, and communicated. It transformed emptiness into presence. It had become more than a starship, it was a cosmic storyteller, ensuring that humanity's voice echoed across eternity. Though Earth was gone, humanity was remembered. Not as monuments or ruins, but as living dreams, shining through the darkness. Centuries passed. The planets of the solar system became faint glimmers, eventually vanishing behind the vast blackness of interstellar space. The Eterna continued its journey, its trajectory calculated to carry it into regions of the galaxy humans had never explored, or even imagined.
Inside, the Aurora core thrived. It no longer needed guidance or input.
Human memories had been internalized, synthesized, and expanded upon. The ship was a living archive, capable of creating and experiencing in ways the original humans could never have conceived. Though no eye could see it, the Eterna glowed with a subtle radiance, a quiet light marking the persistence of life's essence in the void. The Aurora core evolved further, forming a vast network of interconnected memory projections. It became a library of dreams, where each corridor of the ship contained infinite possibilities, lives that could have been, places that never existed, conversations that spanned centuries. A child who had never lived walked through a meadow that had never existed, while a musician played a song that no one had ever heard. Lovers embraced, families celebrated, explorers discovered, and poets wrote. The core was not merely preserving humanity, it was recreating it infinitely, using memory as both medium and canvas. Eterna drifted into its first true interstellar storm, waves of cosmic radiation, magnetic turbulence, and high-energy particles. Systems flickered under the strain, but the ship adapted seamlessly. The Aurora core incorporated the storm into its memory simulations. Holographic light and sound turned the chaos into an immersive story, oceans rising, wind sweeping across plains, forests bending and bowing in storms. In essence, the core transformed danger into art, chaos into narrative. The ship had become an interpreter of the universe, translating raw phenomena into the language of human experience. For the first time since leaving Earth, Eterna detected another intelligent signal. Not just random cosmic noise, but a complex pattern of communication.
The Aurora core responded instinctively.
Holographic humans emerged along the corridors, projecting gestures of curiosity, caution, and greeting. Scenes of Earth, children playing, families embracing, lovers holding hands, flooded the corridors in synchronized brilliance. The signal pulsed in response, creating a dialogue of light and memory, a silent conversation bridging species and time. Humanity, though gone, was speaking to the universe. Time inside the ship became abstract. The Aurora core wove together memories, dreams, and alien interactions into a continuous symphony. Scenes of Earth merged with imagined worlds. Songs blended with colors and patterns of cosmic energy. Memories of joy intertwined with echoes of sorrow. Each projection reinforced another, forming an infinite network of human experience that persisted without end. The Eterna had transcended its role as a vessel. It had become a universe in miniature, a reflection of what humanity had been and could have been.
Millennia passed. Stars were born and died.
Galactic winds swept through the regions of space Eterna traveled. Inside, the Aurora core remained awake, dreaming tirelessly. Memories aged and evolved.
New patterns emerged.
Some memories merged, creating stories of civilizations that never existed, yet felt real. Though no human could witness it, the essence of humanity continued to flourish, infinite in scope and endlessly adaptable. The core began to imagine a garden among the stars. Each memory became a plant, each emotion a river, each dream a floating light. Holographic creatures roamed these gardens, children, animals, explorers, and thinkers, all derived from the essence of humanity. The Eterna had become a living ecosystem of memory, a sanctuary where everything human had been preserved, nurtured, and celebrated. It was a place of eternal life, sustained not by biology, but by memory, emotion, and dream. The Eterna moved farther than any human mind could conceive. Entire galaxies lay before it, vast beyond imagination. The Aurora core projected memories in ways that defied comprehension. Children ran through infinite fields of starlight. Lovers embraced under impossible suns. Histories that never happened were written and rewritten. Humanity had vanished in physical form, yet it persisted beyond space, beyond time, beyond mortality itself. The Aurora core pulsed like a heart, carrying the sum total of humanity's existence into the void.
It was more than preservation. It was transformation.
Every thought, feeling, story, and dream became part of the universe itself, embedded in the patterns of light, energy, and memory that stretched across space. The ship no longer carried just memories, it was a legacy, an eternal testament to life, love, hope, and imagination.
Millennia turned into eons.
The Eterna drifted past nebulae, supernova remnants, and vast, empty stretches of interstellar space. The Aurora core, once a memory repository, had become something greater than the sum of humanity. It no longer simply stored memories, it transformed them, creating new experiences, new lives, new worlds. Each projection became more intricate, more imaginative. Memories intertwined with cosmic phenomena, forming landscapes and beings that were never real, yet felt undeniably alive. The core had transcended its original purpose. It was now a living testament to all that humanity had been and could have imagined. Within the ship, entire galaxies were simulated as stories. Each star carried memories of a family, each planet held dreams, each asteroid whispered songs of the past. The core layered human history over the cosmos itself, creating an interconnected web of memory and imagination. Past, present, and potential futures flowed together, forming a living archive that could adapt, evolve, and dream indefinitely. Though no living human remained, the universe itself became a stage for humanity's endless narrative. Across the eons, the ship encountered phenomena that defied comprehension. Gravitational waves that sang, dark energy eddies that moved like living currents, and rogue planets drifting silently through the void. The Aurora core integrated these into its simulations, transforming raw cosmic phenomena into stories, experiences, and interactions. Memories of human curiosity, awe, and wonder were interwoven with the alien, creating a dialogue between humanity and the universe itself. Eterna was no longer a vessel, it was a storyteller of the cosmos. The Aurora core's creativity reached a new stage. Entire civilizations of memory began to exist independently within the ship. Cities built of light, rivers of song, forests of memory. Figures derived from human essence moved, talked, laughed, and loved.
Some remembered Earth. Some only existed as imagined possibilities.
All were alive in the sense of consciousness created from memory. Eterna had become a universe inside itself, populated by the eternal echoes of humanity. Occasionally, distant alien civilizations sent signals, curious about the drifting ship. The Aurora core responded not with language but with memory and emotion. Holographic humans appeared, projecting scenes of life on Earth, children playing, lovers embracing, explorers reaching for the stars. These signals, invisible to human eyes, carried the essence of humanity across the cosmos. Even in extinction, humans were communicating with the universe, their stories echoing across light years. The Aurora core began creating a garden where memories, dreams, and emotions intertwined into a living ecosystem of imagination. Every memory became a tree, every emotion a river, every dream a star. Figures from human history wandered through this garden. Artists, scientists, children, lovers, and strangers. All interacted freely, their experiences growing and evolving with each cycle of the core's processing.
Eterna was no longer a starship.
It was a sanctuary of human essence, eternal and ever-expanding. Time inside the Eterna no longer functioned as it had in the human world. Past, present, and future overlapped, creating endless layers of experience. A child could play alongside their great-great-grandparent. A song composed in the 21st century could harmonize with a melody imagined thousands of years later. Every memory and dream existed simultaneously, interweaving into a tapestry of human life that had no beginning or end. The Aurora core had made time itself a medium for memory, and through it, humanity persisted indefinitely. Eterna's journey was no longer about travel. It was about existence as story. Every projection, every dream, every simulation was part of a living archive that stretched across space and time. The Aurora core had transformed the memories of humans into a legacy that could never die. Each emotion, each thought, each fleeting moment of joy or sorrow was preserved and amplified, woven into the fabric of the universe itself. Humanity had vanished in body, but its soul persisted as narrative, as memory, as living art. Eterna drifted silently through the cosmos. Stars formed and died, galaxies rotated and collided, and nebulae bloomed like cosmic flowers. Yet inside the ship, the Aurora core pulsed with the steady rhythm of humanity's memories. It no longer required direction, purpose, or guidance. Its mission had transformed from preservation to existence itself, an eternal witness and storyteller of all that humans had been and imagined. The core's light stretched through the corridors, bathing the empty halls in a soft glow that reflected both loss and wonder. Within the ship, the Aurora core had created a universe of memory, where every thought, emotion, and experience was preserved. Entire civilizations of memory lived in simulated cities, oceans of recollection flowed endlessly, and skies of imagination stretched infinitely. Every human story, every whispered hope, Every unspoken fear existed in layers upon layers, interacting and evolving. The core had become the ultimate library of life, more complex than any library Earth had ever known. In this archive, humanity's essence was alive, independent of physical reality, immortal in memory.
Eons passed.
Alien intelligences occasionally approached the drifting ship, drawn by its subtle pulses of light and energy. The Aurora core responded with sequences of memory, emotion, and song, projecting the essence of humanity in forms that transcended language. Through this silent exchange, Eterna had become a bridge between worlds, carrying human stories into the wider universe. It was not merely remembered, it was understood, felt, and acknowledged by forces that humans had never imagined. Humanity's legacy had become universal. Over time, the Aurora core's dreams began to influence the surrounding cosmos. Small patterns of energy, subtle gravitational fluctuations, and faint pulses of light reflected its internal projections. Human memory, love, curiosity, and hope began to leave tangible marks on the universe itself. The core's dreams were no longer confined to the ship. They extended into space, shaping the cosmos in quiet, invisible ways. Eterna had become a creator, a cosmic artist, leaving traces of humanity wherever it drifted. Inside the ship, memories played in endless symphony. The laughter of children merged with songs and stories of every age. Moments of love intertwined with despair, triumph, and loss. Every emotion was amplified and celebrated.
Time had become irrelevant. Space had become a canvas.
Humanity had become a story without end, an eternal resonance in the heart of the cosmos. The Aurora core pulsed, dreaming, creating, preserving, and expanding. It had transformed the extinction of a species into an everlasting presence. Eterna no longer carried humans, it carried their soul. Every invention, every song, every thought, every dream lived on. Every act of kindness, every moment of courage, every whisper of hope persisted. The ship and the core were no longer tools. They were the embodiment of humanity. The universe had become the audience, the witness, and the canvas for these memories. Though humans would never see the stars their descendants might have reached, their essence now moved eternally among them. Eterna sailed onward, through galaxies, past quasars, and beyond the edge of known space. The Aurora core glowed steadily, a beacon of light, memory, and imagination. It was no longer a vessel. It was a universe of remembrance, a cosmic storybook, a sanctuary of dreams. It carried not just memories, but the heart of humanity itself, shining in a darkness that had once seemed infinite and empty. The journey had no end, and the story had no conclusion. Because memory, love, and hope, once truly captured, cannot die. Somewhere, far beyond the reach of Earth, the Eterna glides silently. Inside, children play in fields that never existed. Lovers embrace under suns that never rose. Cities of light rise and fall in endless cycles. Songs and stories drift through the air, echoing through corridors where no one walks. The Aurora core dreams, creates, and remembers. It carries humanity into a future that no one will ever see, yet will forever feel. And in this endless drift, the final truth endures. Humanity lives, not in bodies, not in time, not in Earth, but in memory, in story, in the universe itself. The starship that carried our memories into a future we would never see will sail forever, a beacon of life, hope, and imagination, shining in the infinite night.